I think some people, they view obesity as a lack of willpower. What would you say to that?
I mean, anybody who knows me knows I don't have a lack of willpower.
GLP-1s like Ozempic, Mounjaro, and Zepbound are changing people's lives, helping millions lose weight.
So you lost over 100 pounds.
Yeah, about 109 pounds.
For some, it's doing even more, treating symptoms of sleep apnea.
My wife was like, wow, you didn't snore last night. She goes, yeah, I can't believe you weren't wearing that machine.
Alcohol cravings, and it could help with Alzheimer's.
What we're finding is that weight loss is promoting healthy brain tissue, healthy neuroplasticity.
But the side effects can be real.
Do you have any concerns with people taking this medication for their entire life? I mean, has that been studied? And
one doctor is helping patients wean off the medication while maintaining the weight.
I'm microdosing. So.
Okay, so you've actually started to wean off.
So how did he do this? Welcome to the Wellness Files, a podcast where we explore practical tools, research, and real stories. I'm your host, Kari Beal, and today we're sitting down with obesity medicine Dr. Nita Bajor and patient Trent Gamble.
Well, today we are here with Dr. Nita Bajor and Trent Gamble. So Dr. Nita Bajor, you're a triple board certified physician in obesity, family, and lifestyle medicine. And Trent, you are a patient who's been using GLP-1s and you've seen a lot of success with weight loss. I understand you also had sleep apnea, and that's one of the topics I want to discuss as well. So thank you both for being here today.
You're welcome.
So I'm just going to give a little overview of some of the things I want to cover because I want to go beyond weight loss. I want to look at some of the other conditions that GLP-1s have been studied for. So we'll talk about sleep apnea, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, fertility, Ozempic babies. I know that's been a big conversation, not just for women, but men can boost their fertility, reducing cardiovascular events, kidney disease, and then the side effects. I know around a third of people experience side effects. So I do want to touch on that. Something we've talked before, Dr. Nita Bajor, is microdosing. So kind of go into detail on that, and then importance of building muscle while you're on these, because as you lose weight, you lose muscle. So before I get to Trent's story about his weight loss journey, Dr. Nita Bajor, I want to ask you, explain how a GLP-1 works in the body.
Okay, so the GLP is a hormone. It's a peptide, which is a short chain amino acid. It's called glucagon-like peptide. So what it does is, and it's naturally found in our body, secreted from the gut in response to glucose. So when we eat food, the GLP hormone is secreted, and one of the primary jobs of the GLP is to increase your insulin. And what does insulin do? It brings down your glucose. So in response to a meal or eating any carbohydrate, that's the normal function. So we have GLP receptors almost on every cell in our body, but they're mainly concentrated in the gut, in the brain. So the medication GLP is a synthetic peptide that mimics what the GLP would do on the GLP receptor, which is to trigger insulin. So the medications now that we have, they've been around for quite a long time. The first one was launched in 2005, so it's not, not new. But the recent ones have been more tolerable, and so we have a lot more options. But that's, in essence, how they work, is they stimulate insulin secretion. Now, they have some other secondary effects on the tissues. One of the primary secondary effects is that it takes away your hunger signal. And it does that both.
I was going to ask about, how does this play into appetite?
Exactly. So it does that both centrally through the brain, where it tells the hypothalamic signal. There's a part in the brain that controls your satiety, fullness, tells it that I'm full. And so you don't feel hungry. And a negative to that is, if you've eaten way too much, you're going to feel nauseated. So it's almost like an expected side effect. So we always make our patients aware of that. The other thing that it does is centrally it can calm down your hedonic drive, which is your feel-good pleasure drive. So because we eat for two main reasons. We eat for fuel and when we eat for pleasure. Sometimes we eat more for pleasure when we're not really needed to nourish our bodies. So the GLP is known to calm down that hedonic craving center. And so a lot of the uses now we're exploring and investigating its use in other conditions, primarily for type 2 diabetes because it secretes that insulin, but then also was found that it caused significant amount of weight loss. So the company that first launched the first GLP in 2005, which was called Byetta, was very cumbersome to use. We had patients taking it twice a day. Who wants to take a shot even once a day? This was twice
Yeah.
a day for diabetes.
And you have to do it yourself in the
right.
belly.
Right.
which,
So
some people don't like needles, so
absolutely. So we've gone, come a long way from using it for diabetes to now being able to use it for the FDA-approved indication of obesity, which is a big game changer. So
and sleep apnea now.
that's right. Yeah.
All right, so Trent, we want to get to your story now. Tell us a little bit, kind of where you started and where you are now.
Yeah, I hit the panic button at about 287 pounds, and I started trying to lose it myself. Got down to about 276 or something, and then I was like, I'm not losing it. So Dr. Bijor has been my doctor, my primary care physician, and I went to her and I said, I need help. She had a program, and I signed up for the program, and then we lost, I probably lost about 25, 30 pounds, but we were working out. I was having all kinds of pains and issues, and Dr. Bijor says, I've got something. I know you don't like medications, but I just want you to try it out. And so we started on the Zepbound, tirzepatide, and it took away that hunger issue, the constantly thinking about food, the raiding the pantry at night. I even stopped drinking about March, I think is when we started, and I stopped drinking any kind of beer or alcohol or anything like that. Long story short, by the time my goal was to get to 200 by my birthday, which is December 21st, and we got to 200 before December, so I lost. And then my goal was really to get to 200 really before a wedding, my niece's wedding in March of 2025. So all this started back in February of 2024. So we got to 200 within a year, before a year, and then I got to like 164 before the wedding, and it was just amazing. But once I got on tirzepatide, I wasn't having the muscle pain. I was losing weight, felt great, and it really made it a lot easier. I wasn't struggling to not eat or to reduce my caloric intake.
So you lost over 100 pounds.
Yeah, about 109 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe more if you go like 100, you put me at 187.
You're kind of heavy.
When I started really counting it, I wasn't really counting that because I was kind of hiding that one. That's when you look at the scale and you go, I'm not looking at that. So,
Now you said when you were 280 pounds,
280.
Yeah, when you were 280 pounds, you would go to the gym. Tell me about.
Yeah, I was still working out.
You were trying.
I mean, for a while I had, I was 270 pounds, had a personal trainer. The weight just, once you get over 50, the weight just doesn't come off as easy, but it's not, but I was feeding those workouts. So, and I was also eating, when I was happy, I'd eat. When I was sad, I'd go eat. When I was celebrating, I'd go eat. When I was stressed, I'd go eat. So I was turning to food a lot.
And now what happens when you're stressed, sad, or any of that?
I don't really get that way now because I feel great now, but if I'm stressed, I go to the gym, I go for a walk. I've invested a lot or I'll go play pickleball. I take the stress out on the court. So, but I invested in, I call it a road bike, but it's really not. It's just kind of a cruiser bike, and then I bought a mountain bike. So, I stay active, so the stress really is controlled, and, I just go burn some calories and burn some energy.
Yeah. I think some people, they view obesity as a lack of willpower. What would you say to that?
I mean, anybody who knows me knows I don't have a lack of willpower. I mean, I could muscle through at 280. I could go hike 15 miles, no sweat. I still sailed. We do dinghy races where, you're crawling in and out of your boat. I was still mobile. But if it wasn't a lack of willpower, it was just really genetics, I think. But of course, on the way to do anything like hike, I'd stop by Bojangles. So, and on the way back, I'd stop by and get I'd say, oh, I worked out, or I did this, and I would, swing by McDonald's or something. So it was bad habits, really, that kind of led to it, but I was never not motivated or not active.
So when you see a Bojangles or McDonald's or any sort of fast food restaurant now, what do you feel?
I I kind of ignore it now. I'm probably the worst for marketing for McDonald's and Bojangles, although I love them. But now, like, if we're making a trip and we stop by McDonald's or something, I don't try to stop everybody like, oh no, we can't go there. I'll just get like chicken nuggets and a Diet Coke or something.
Dr. Bourgeois, would you say that's kind of the body retraining, like the signals that come from, I guess, your stomach to your brain?
Absolutely.
Figure out how this is working, like where all of a sudden you can just go like, bam,
Yes.
I don't want that anymore.
I think what we have now recognized is obesity is not self-created. It's a condition. It's a chronic relapsing condition. So I communicate that to patients right in the beginning. This is something that we're going to have to think about lifelong, how we're going to manage. Like he said, when he eats, fast food, what are the choices he's going to make? Or I think that understanding is paramount to somebody having long-term successful weight loss and fat loss. So now, there are primarily many factors that cause it. So if we understand that, number one is lifestyle. So that's in our control.
Certified lifestyle medicine. Yeah.
That's probably the only factor in our control. So when you have someone like Trent that's already, I see the tough cases. I see the patients that have already tried everything and then are like, okay, I need to go to a physician that knows and comes to us to get that managed. The second most important thing is genetics. That's very powerful.
What Trent was mentioning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we really take a detailed history about what weight were the parents at when they were younger, and what the third generation up, even the children. So is this familial? We're just now getting to the tip of the iceberg in terms of understanding it's polygenic obesity. So it's not one gene that was disordered and caused obesity. It's multifactorial. The third one is epigenetic. So that's environmental. It's in the food we eat, the food industry, the smell as you drive in the evening, you can smell fried chicken, in any neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then we also have the BPAs and the environmental estrogens that wreak havoc, that are in pesticides and plastics and all that. So that also promotes obesity. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And then the medications are there to kind of take that next step. It's a tool. I tell my patients, this is not something that you would, think that, okay, I'm on this medicine, everything's going to be fine. You have to do the work. And that's taking each patient through that cycle of understanding. Yeah.
All right, so we'll get to exercise later. Trent, I wanted to ask you, you took Zepbound, which is now approved for sleep apnea as well. Mm-hmm. Can you explain what your sleep apnea was like before and kind of how it is now?
I should have brought my wife. She'd really tell you, because I slept great. She did not sleep great.
You've seen her sleep problem.
I did. She actually lost weight when I got rid of mine. You wear a device all night. I took to the machine and wearing the machines really well. It actually clears up your nose. I had a CPAP machine, yeah. I had an auto set, which titrates itself. It determines what your pressure needs to be, so it's very comfortable to wear. I always wore a nasal mask or nasal pillows, so they just go in your nostrils because I've never been a mouth breather. And honestly, I had a cold a couple weeks ago, and I missed it because the humidity keeps your airways open all night. But I like to camp. I like to backpack. You can't take that machine with you unless you carry a 40-pound battery or if you car camp, it's great. But if you're backpacking, it's not feasible. I even had a small one that I could carry, but you'd still have to take a heavy battery. And you want to keep your backpack as light as possible, 25 pounds. But you're still having to make sure the mask is clean, make sure you have filters on it. It's just, to me, I was like, God, this is such a pain, although I like wearing it, But once I got to a certain weight, I was telling Dr. Bourgeois, I was like, I can't wear my CPAP anymore. It's blowing my head off. I'd gotten to the point where it didn't need the pressure to keep the airway open. Mm-hmm. And so, it changes the pressure, but it couldn't get low enough. So I was below, obviously, 7 centimeters or 7 centimeters of the pressure. But
so do you still use the PAP machine now?
I couldn't sleep with it. No, it was blowing. I had to stop using it. And now my wife was like, "Wow, you didn't snore last night." She goes, "I can't believe you weren't wearing that machine and you didn't snore." So,
and his numbers are great, so he doesn't really have controlled sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sleep apnea is like you stop breathing.
So
is what
yeah,
needs a machine.
Right.
the majority of
Wow.
the type is the obstructive type from extra weight and tissue. So once the weight's gone, it relieves that obstructive outlet. You know?
Yeah, my neck's like 2-3 inches
Less, yeah.
less.
Smaller.
Yeah. I can wear a tie comfortably now. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down in studies on it for sleep apnea that for those who had a PAP machine, it reduced symptoms by 50%, which
Yes.
that's pretty significant considering, that. And I know a lot of people who use PAP machines are obese, so that's something to note. But that was just very interesting. So Trent, I want to ask you, a lot of people, they have side effects from medications like this, and they have gastrointestinal side effects, and it might be so much that they can't even take it themselves. What was that like for you?
I had it at first, but like Dr. Bajir was saying, it was from overeating. Like you eat too much and you're going to know it. You're going to have the nausea. And I think sometimes people start off maybe too high on the medication, or because after we started off at 2.5, we introduced it, then we went to 5, but we went in increments.
It's really important to go gradually because, it has to be tolerated well. And then the patient's comfort is really important because if they have those side effects, you've lost the chance of them, taking that again. So I'd rather go slowly and titrate it up very gently.
So would you start them sometimes even less than what, like Zepbound, the initial amount they say to start it?
Well, the FDA has approved the starting dose to be 2.5, which for
Okay.
most people is
It's tolerable.
good, well tolerated, but occasional nausea. So it's very customized and personalized, I would say. It depends on the patient. And then going up to the next level, 5, 7.5, that I take more gradually.
Okay.
You know.
To see how they
Yes.
handle
I
it.
mean,
So
if we
what,
have a lot of weight to lose, you've got to
Yeah.
slowly titrate up.
so Trent, what are you at now? Like what grams? Is it grams?
Oh, I'm on
Microdose now.
a microdosing. So.
Okay, so you've actually started to wean off.
Yeah, well, I've come off of it for a couple of months, and then if I start getting the food noise and I start feeling like, I'm craving carbs, or like a month ago it was granola. I don't know what was going on, but like I was just craving granola. So it's crazy.
So we're coming back in.
Yeah, well, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to,
GLP.
but you've got a safety net. I can go and say, hey, I'm getting the food noise back and it's driving me crazy. But what I've noticed is that when I come off of it longer and longer and longer. So, I'm getting the habits in that help me reduce that food noise and maintain the weight. But at 50, I don't.
You look
it's not
great.
like
You don't look 50.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Young.
Been working on it. But it's amazing. Like, I think I'm missing a gene anyway. I did a gene thing and I'm missing like a mother gene or something like that makes you don't feel hunger, but you don't feel satiated either.
Yeah.
Right. And with the tirzepatide, you don't feel like eating. Like when you eat, I told my wife, it's when I eat, I know I'm eating just for the energy. I'm not eating for the pleasure of it anymore. I'm eating because I know. And then, since you're not eating for the pleasure of it, you're eating because you've got to eat. You make better choices because you don't care. I don't really care what I eat for the pleasure. I want to eat it because I want good fuel in my system. And like and then some of the weird things about tirzepatide, I can eat ground beef, great. I look at a prime rib that's fatty, and I almost get sick when I look at it. So there's some weird things that happen.
yes.
Yeah, some aversions. Like
Done something in the brain.
like I said, I was never a heavy drinker, but I would drink beer every now and then with
I could see
guys.
why beer or alcohol, because that can already upset someone's
Right.
stomach. Yeah.
It never upset me, but I was just like, I don't even want it now.
Yeah.
And then it was, I think July 4th, somebody handed me a Coors Light and I took a sip of it. I'm like, oh, I can't. Like the taste of it's different.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have that satisfying, that carbonation, that beer taste that I used to like. So weird things with it, just it changes kind of your whole mental game towards food.
Now, Dr. Bajor, what percentage of your patients would you say experience side effects from this medication?
I would say probably not. It's not 30% like you were saying. I mean, it's probably 10%
Okay.
or less.
maybe under proper guidance.
Yes, I think that is the key. That's actually the key. A lot of people have transferred to us because they were on online medications and the non-FDA approved compounded ones, and then had tolerability issues. And then when they start seeing us, they recognize that it's really something that you can take very gently and get, comfortable with it, because it's a tool. So I think I probably don't see that high number of side effects overall.
Okay.
But they are real. So
And you said you kind of start slow and then maybe build up, but then sometimes you start going back down.
Yes,
As trend is, have you ever had a patient that stopped taking it?
because they met the goal.
Yeah, they met the goal and they were able to maintain
Yes,
it. Really?
So that's my goal from the beginning. Now, whether that's achievable depends on the body type, the chronic disease of the patient, how long they've had other comorbidities. There's always a good chance in the beginning. So if someone comes to me because they've just in the recent years have noticed some weight gain, I would say that we can get them off the medication. And then I'm still following them very closely because I want to see them at least every 3 months to make sure we're staying within that range. A couple of pounds here and there, because it is a chronic disease, it's going to sort of set in again. It's like controlling high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. You take a medication, but then you want to be monitored. So likewise for obesity, we don't cut the connection. I mean, we see him regularly, and I think just coming and seeing us also sets in him like, okay, they're going to check me.
I have a ceiling.
Okay.
So if I hit that ceiling, I go check in with Dr. Bajor.
Okay, if you're craving that granola or something.
Yeah, I mean, if something weird happened, and it wasn't just, I was craving granola, and then I put on but I was also working out, but I put on 5 pounds, and I said, I've got to go see Dr. Bajor because I don't want to get going too fast back up, because I can gain weight like crazy. I mean, I could gain 20 pounds in a week.
I think it's that challenge if you don't want to have to keep taking as much medication, but you also don't want to gain the weight.
That's where the lifestyle, it's not just weight loss, it's lifestyle gain. I tell my patients right in the beginning that it's really about how well do you know yourself? How well are you going to, we are our longest commitment, right? Our body is our longest with us throughout our life. So really recognizing what kind of person are you, that's where the mental component comes in, behavioral component. What kind of person are you? What is your purpose? And I think it ties into that, is taking care of yourself, nourishing yourself, and a little bit of pleasure. If you have a cheat day, you eat something, how are you going to get back? All those discussions are very important right in the beginning.
Yes. So, and would you say you've developed certain habits that are different? Like, I wonder if one of the reasons it's easier for you to start reducing the amount you're taking is because you've developed habits that are good for you.
Oh, yeah.
Going to the gym, eating healthy. So have you developed habits, and what are they?
I have. And what I was going to say earlier, I feel like what the weight loss was enabled me to do was, you always have that image of in your head of what you look like. It's not necessarily what you see in the mirror or what other people see, but I always saw myself as a fit guy. And then I took a picture. I've got it if you want to see it later.
Yeah, shared it with her.
Oh my God. I took a picture of myself I was just in a pair of shorts, and I said, I never imagined I looked like that. So it helped me kind of sculpt the image that I have in my head and make my body look like what I actually, imagine myself look like. But yeah, I mean, once I got down to 200, I mean, it changed my life. I mean, I started biking, walking, playing pickleball all the time, like not just once a week, but 3-4 times a week. So your energy level increases, you're able to do more. And I never thought that I'd be the guy that gets out, leaves work and goes and rides, 12, 30 miles in the afternoon. I've even changed my hours. So I go in at 10, so I get up at 5 in the morning and I go hike or I go mountain bike, in the morning 4 or 5 days a week. But it's really changed my habits.
Yeah, and so I guess what I'm asking about habits is like for myself, having a kid and working, I pack my gym bag the night before every night to make sure that I can get out the door, because in the morning it's hectic trying to get my kid ready and trying to get myself ready. And if I have my gym bag packed the night before, I know I can grab it and go.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do anything like that?
Oh, so I have, this is embarrassing. I have a gym bag packed I I've got a car and then I've got a truck. So the truck carries my bikes. So I've got a gym bag in my car and then I have a gym bag in my truck. So I don't have to forget. And they both have, you know, shorts, workout clothes, you know, things to change into if I needed to. So both, I don't have to think about which one has it. They both have it. And then I just take the dirty clothes out, you know, throw them in the laundry. And then my truck has my pickleball paddles. I mean, I call it my fun truck. So it's got, I carry a bike on it every week, depending on what I'm going to do. And then I have the pickleball paddles. I've got, you know, all my stuff for my bikes. I've got, you know, all my sail gear if I need to go, if I want to go sailing that afternoon. So I'm packed and ready to go all the time.
Yeah.
And then I panic a little bit when I take my wife's car because I'm like, I forgot to bring this stuff. Because, you know, there's always that
stuff like ready.
Right, it's not ready to go.
Preparation is the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Being prepared, you know, that's the best thing to do is just have it ready to go.
Yeah.
And who doesn't have a few extra bags and a few extra workout clothes they can't just throw, you know, keep with them all the time.
No excuses.
No excuses.
You know it's in your car.
That's right. I think one of the philosophies to really inculcate in oneself is your body is like your organization. It's like your company, right? Would you show up to work on time? Would you do everything that's required that day at work? Would you take care of all your tasks at work, all your phone calls, all the meetings? Do the same thing to your body. It needs that. It thrives on that. You know, it's not just lifespan, but it's your health span. How long are you going to live healthy without chronic disease, without cancers? And so highly predictive of that. If you take good care of yourself, then even if something happens, you're likely to bounce back and deal with it in a much better way.
So next I want to talk about the importance of exercise because as we lose weight, we lose muscle. So what do you tell your patients when they're, you know, taking these medications?
So one of the most important things to know is not just your body weight, but your body fat and your body muscle, what we call body composition. And we start with that. So we measure the patient's body composition. I'll tell my patient, okay, this is where we're starting. This is what the typical adult female body fat should be. This is where the typical muscle should be. And so I show them in the beginning how much over that we are. So they know, okay, this is our goal. This is how much I have to work on that. And then really incorporating every month, seeing the patient and making sure that they are somewhat, you know, aware and just being very mindful of that when they're eating. You know, you could eat a little candy bar and just set yourself off getting thousands of calories.
And then I already failed here. I might as well
and then to burn that, it's hard work. I mean, you cannot just burn off a candy bar very easy. So I think choosing the foods wisely becomes really important because then they know, okay, I can eat this healthy food and then I can gain some more muscle because I've added protein versus I've just eaten simple carbs or sugar or candy or dessert and I've not, you know, helped my muscle mass. Yeah. So that protein concept of keeping your foods really lean body mass is very important. That's a good thing too.
And Trent, that's what you said you do a lot of now, like your own body weight for workouts instead of lifting super heavy.
Yeah.
You do. So what kind of workouts do you do?
So, I mean, I do active body weight. So I'll wake up in the morning. So the first thing to do is get up in the morning and I'll stretch. And then I'll do about 20 to 30 push-ups just to get things started.
Body weight?
Body weight. And then I may go mountain bike or something, you know, or go hike, just get the blood pumping. And then I usually work out 4 days a week in the gym at work and I use kettlebells. I do farmer's carry, which I know is really heavy kettlebells just in each arm and just walk around the gym. I'm lucky because where I work, we have a gym and I can walk right up to it.
Nice.
It's great, but you know, that's 4 days a week. But I've gotten back into lifting weights just because I enjoy it and I don't have the pain that I used to when I was way overweight, which I think was just an inflammatory issue we were dealing with.
Yes.
And now I don't have
easier for you to work out.
Oh yeah, I don't have any of the problems I'm used to.
You know, you're minus 100 pounds.
Right, not mine, and no inflammatory issues. So
okay.
Yeah, but I work out about 4 days a week in the gym. Now, you know, heavy weights 2 days a week, and then I do mostly stretching or I'll walk the treadmill.
Okay.
But I don't do like, I'm not trying to curl 45-pound dumbbells anymore.
Yeah.
I'm doing more reps.
Yeah.
So.
Important to note, he is mentioning that he's doing something every day. You know, it doesn't have to be killing yourself in the gym every day.
But I don't want to do that.
No, that causes injury and, you know, and then you really can't work out because you're in pain. So really being consistent in the long run is key. So I think that
kinda
you've
like
achieved that.
what you're doing.
Well, if you lose momentum, you'll end up being a couch potato again. I'll end up being a couch potato again because if I just can't lose the momentum, and I'll take a Sunday and just not be a couch potato, but I'll rest, do a good rest, and I have active rest days where I just go and take a fun ride on the bike and I don't push it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Dr. Bajor, I want to ask about some of these other conditions that GLP-1s have been studied for. So there's this one human study for Alzheimer's, and it found for those with type 2 diabetes that took semaglutide, they had a 40 to 70% lower risk of first-time diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. So I want to emphasize this is for people who are already diabetic, but what do you think about that study?
So there is a lot of sense when it comes to how GLP medication would be helping lower inflammation, because by indirectly promoting fat loss, fat is inflammatory, right? We need a certain amount of fat. Our brain tissue has a lot of fat in it, but excess body fat promotes inflammation. It makes our hormones sluggish. Hormones are all metabolized in fat tissue. So if we have too much fat tissue, then our hormones become sluggish. That's why people that gain extra body weight get irregular cycles and infertility and all that. So when we lose that extra body fat, we're lowering inflammation, and our brain has factors that either promote inflammation or are anti-inflammatory. So losing the weight promotes the anti-inflammatory state of the brain. Again, Alzheimer's, dementia overall is a multifactorial condition.
Yeah.
But what we're finding is that weight loss is promoting healthy brain tissue, healthy neuroplasticity. There's a factor called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. We are trying to just understand how lowering excess body fat and body weight is actually enhancing brain function. It improves focus, it improves memory, agility. So I'm seeing that in my patients too.
You just have more energy, would you say?
Yes, and some of my older patients that have had, obesity, they're in their 60s and 70s and they've had obesity for a long time. Those that have had neuropathic pain, back pain, all of that seems to go down. I'm seeing they're more active because they lose the weight, and that allows them to do greater things.
Yeah.
And builds confidence. So
next I want to talk about Ozempic babies and fertility.
Yes.
So I thought one of these was interesting. We'll first start with male fertility. So it was a 2025 review of studies on GLP-1s, and it found that it really helped improve male fertility. So sperm function, hormone profiles, and testicular function in obese or diabetic men. So I think a lot of us, we think about fertility as a female thing,
Right.
but this was interesting. It was looking at men.
yeah, when it comes to infertility, the male factor and the female factor are almost equal, actually. So correcting a male infertility indicator is very important. And I think the weight loss, again, directly impacts the motility and the function, the quality of the sperm. And so, again, lowering inflammation in the body, promoting healthy weight, that itself, promotes good fertility, reproductive health. So I think we're finding a lot of benefit. I have patients that, have PCOS, polycystic.
That was the other one I wrote down, polycystic ovarian.
Women that have PCOS, men that have had also difficulty in having the second child or third child, and then and if they have obesity, when we put them on the medication, then we find that they're more likely to conceive. I've had some women that have had babies, and they're very grateful.
Babies,
yes,
or
very grateful.
whatever, GLP-1 babies.
Yes, and it's nice to see the kid coming back to the office. So I think that does work.
Yeah.
But it has to be done under the guidance of a physician, because these medications are not approved in pregnancy. They're not approved. There's a window. We actually
Once you
take
get
patients
pregnant, you
off.
don't want to.
Right.
Want to be taken.
Even if you're planning to conceive, we actually have a discussion about when are you going to start planning to conceive and use the medication up until a certain point, because it has to be out of the system before they, they're once a week, right? So they have a longer half-life.
Okay.
So that's not just as easy as just taking the shot and waiting till you
It'll
find
help you get there, and then
Correct.
you need to stop
Yes.
taking them. Okay, so what about cardiovascular events, and then we'll get to kidney disease.
So obesity is a chronic disease, and it is directly linked to a lot of the other conditions we treat, a lot of the other specialty conditions like coronary artery disease, chronic kidney disease, heart failure, type 2 diabetes. I call it diabesity because obesity goes hand in hand. You know, if you don't control the obesity, we are going to become insulin resistant and develop diabetes. So in approaching that in that light, I think making sure that we look at the indicators. So in the beginning, I check, you know, what's your cholesterol level, what's your A1C, finding out all these parameters in the beginning, and that's how we can help prevent. In fact, now it's approved. The GLP medications are approved, FDA approved for reduction in major cardiac events called MACE. So that my cardiologist will put their patients on Ozempic even if they don't have diabetes, even if they don't have, you know, just if they have coronary artery disease or any risk factors.
Because how does it work in that sense?
Again, it works in, I think, by helping the obesity factor. It reduces the coronary events. So these were observational studies where they did meta-analysis and looked at people that had coronary artery disease and were they on the GLP medications versus the ones that had coronary artery disease that were not on GLP medications. So there was a statistically significant reduction in major adverse cardiac events in that group that were on GLP medications. These are not all randomized, double-blinded, you know, to see whether they will develop heart disease. They are observational, looking back and looking at the data of millions of Americans and seeing. So there's a lot of evidence out there, a lot of data supporting that.
And then the last one is kidney disease. So Ozempic has been approved to reduce the risk of worsening kidney disease as well.
Yeah, chronic kidney disease is the next step if you develop chronic diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or some of the other conditions, hypertensive disease as well, can lead to chronic kidney disease. So by reducing the factor that GLPs control, which they help control the obesity, they also improve renal function. They are known to, I think now there's some studies to see, are they improving the flow by lowering the inflammation in the vessels? How are they promoting healthy blood vessels? How are they promoting healthy tissue? So that's really exciting now because we can use it independently of other conditions. If a person is developing chronic kidney disease, or we are mindful of several risk factors and we want to prevent chronic kidney disease, then we have medication options.
I feel like kind of what I'm hearing overall is that the medications have a ripple effect. So it's like the medications for Trent, they help you get there.
Correct.
But it's the ripple effect. It's really losing the weight and improving your cholesterol and everything that comes with that, being able to work out more because you weigh less.
Yes.
So it's that ripple effect of everything that comes after that's so beneficial.
Oh, 100%. I have a patient that came to me with severe body pain. I mean, I'm talking she couldn't move. She had chronic back pain, neuropathic pain down the legs. She felt like there was a knife in her back, you know. And by the time I got her in to see the neurologist and the spine doctor, she had lost so much weight, effectively started exercising, her pain was gone. So you can think of like, the joint pain was gone. And by the time she saw the neurologist, they were like, no, you're on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing. There was nothing else to be done. And she's off neuropathic medications like gabapentin.
Wow.
Not on any pain medications, nothing. She's agile, and all because of giving her a GLP medication that really changed her life. And her motivation was, I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to travel with my husband. And, you know, so those are the happy success stories we're so thankful to see. It's a journey. I tell my patients, I need the patient invested in this as much as I am passionate about it. It's not a one-way. I can't just say, take this medicine and, you know, so it's very rewarding for us because I think as a medical community, we not intentionally, but I think we were also not aware and not trained or not aware of how obesity impacts everything. I have orthopedic surgeons referring patients to me to manage their obesity so that they can have surgery and have successful outcomes. So very soon we'll have, you know, other indications in the pipeline. In the field of addiction, I believe we'll have a lot more data coming in on how is this, how is it reducing cravings? How is it reducing, I'm finding that too, that patients that have had binge eating or have had a lot of food addiction or, substance use, that they're on this for obesity, but it's actually calming down some of their other hedonic brain factors that are, like he said, that they're just, it kind of takes away the food noise.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting time to see the difference.
Do you have any concerns with people taking this medication for their entire life? I mean,
Yes.
has that been studied? And
Yes, I will say that this class of medications first was launched in 2005, so we have 20 years. Okay, and by the time the FDA approves it for use in the general population, it's already been in the pipeline with studies for several years before that. So probably in the 1990s that it was discovered accidentally I think it was the Gila monster lizard that ended up causing the venom in that caused pancreatitis. And so one of the scientists studied what was it in the venom that triggered pancreatitis, and it was the GLP molecule. So that's how so there's a lot of data that's come in over the last 20 years, and we only had it approved for diabetes. Now, at least for the last, I would say since 2012 to 2017, we've had the once a week formulations, Ozempic in 2017, and then in 2020, 2021, we've since then had the Wegovy and the Zepbound. So I think there is some comfort level, but I'm always mindful about, what is the long term with my patients. So obesity itself causes a myriad of chronic diseases and multiple cancers. But then we treat obesity and we are reducing the incidence of causing that. But I also am aware of the side effects. We are not supposed to use those medicines in certain populations. Also people that have gastroparesis, that just have a slow digestive system, this medication slows the digestion down. So you don't want to compound a problem that's already there.
some people get stomach paralysis.
Yes, they can get really bloated and just have difficulty with digestion. People that have inflammatory bowel disease. So again, it's a conversation to be had between myself, the patient, the specialist. Many times I'll consult specialists and say, is it okay for me to start the medication? Just because the more minds, the more board certified your team, we're all in this together. And so patients have an understanding of why we're using it. My philosophy has been, try to let your lifestyle do the work long term and use medication as a tool. Now, some conditions, we need to use medications for lifetime. And in spite of optimizing lifestyle, it's okay if you need a medication. That's what science is for. That's what research is for, and how we have advanced into 2025. We're going to go into the next, decade with a lot more information. So, but that's always a concern. I tell patients that I'm very upfront about it. Long-term studies. We have data, but we
have
to make
about
sure.
20 years.
20 years,
of
yeah.
data. So would you say your goal is to have patients like Trent where they start to wean off the medication?
Yes, absolutely. That's always my goal, to see if the body can sustain that weight loss. So I divide my whole, mindset in managing the patient into the first 6 months, the next 6 months, the third 6 months. So I take it in 6-month increments and see what is the body, how are we responding, how are we adapting. It's not just weight loss, but it's lean body mass gain and then long-term maintenance. And there are a lot of things that will throw that off. Hormones, having a baby, going through menopause, perimenopause. So different phases in our lives where we will see ups and downs in the weight. And how do we navigate that? How do we manage that? That's always my goal. It's not just to get a quick 10, 20 pounds off, but how am I impacting that life long term?
Now, if somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I took one of these medications, it tore up my stomach, I don't want to do that, but I do feel like I'm not healthy, I'm obese, what would you say to them and how would you help them?
It's very individualized. I would listen to them. I'd listen to their entire story, take my time, listen, because I usually will pick up factors in their history that have contributed. Like he said, being aware, when he saw his photo, he was like, I don't look like that.
Narcissist.
Most of it, and then you're like, oh, now you look back and you're like, oh, I guess I did.
Yes, so that is really, it's a wake-up call for patients to, once they tell me their story, and then I tell them, okay, there are some things we can work on, that it's not just, if you can't take the medication, you're not going to succeed. That's not true. I mean, that's why I specialize in lifestyle medicine, to get a broader understanding of how I can help the patient's non-medicative approach, with that. So that is something that's paramount to success. I think understanding that you have to do the work, you have to eat healthier constantly. It's a journey. It's not about a quick fix, not about just eating well for the next month because you've got Christmas coming, but Christmas is going to come next year too, and the year after.
There's always going to be events every month.
Exactly. So I think that's the fun part of my job, is really getting to know my patients, and I can tell, and it's amazing. I never say never. I never say, okay, this person is just not going to be able to achieve this, because I'm really surprised. What drives a patient, what drives the mindset is such an individual thing that I'm seeing results. I have a patient that, is not even, doesn't have much obesity, but has sleep apnea. This is interesting. And just through lifestyle, and just because she found out she has sleep apnea, she started eating healthier, and she's not even, in the obesity category, but has now controlled her sleep apnea, positional changes, has started exercising. So the human mindset is limitless potential. I really believe in that. And it's really a good time to see having these medication options. But if it's not an option, for a long time, we just use appetite suppressants. We had several other players in the market that would help the appetite suppression component. This is the first time we've had a medication that addresses multiple systems all in one injection. So I think it helps us achieve, and other medications had more side effects too. It's not like some of the appetite suppressants. They also have their own set of, but I do use them. There are several options there. If GLP is not an option, I can use other medications.
Now, the one side effect I haven't asked about is the concern with thyroid cancer.
That's true.
Can you explain why that can be a concern and who that can impact?
Right. So in the animal studies, it was shown there's a condition called medullary thyroid cancer.
Okay.
And that's part of a syndrome called multiple endocrine neoplasia. So they did see that but it's not been seen in human studies
yet.
And
you think, as you said, the next 10 years we'll find out if that is really a concern? Because
absolutely, yes.
So many people are on these medications, and then we'll see, because I know with animal studies, sometimes it's not the same.
It's not exactly
in humans.
Yeah. So I think that's why FDA did approve the medication. Now, this doesn't mean if you have hypothyroidism, you cannot take GLP. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. Oh, I have thyroid disease, I cannot take. I've had patients cleared by endocrinologists in spite of having hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, even if they have nodules but they're not cancerous. That's very important to have that discussion with your obesity specialist, with your primary care physician, and your endocrinologist, and see if this is an option.
Yeah.
So patients come in and say, oh, I've never even looked into this because I think, since I have thyroid disease, I can. But it's a specific thyroid cancer called medullary carcinoma of the thyroid.
Okay.
It's not all the other cancers.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, Trent, do you have any other last comments, advice for anyone, whether that's taking the medication or just changing your lifestyle?
I mean, it's, if you're battling it like I was, you got to suck up the ego and go get help. I think that's what happens with a lot of people, is they're like, I can do this myself. But if you're constantly battling it and you're not really making any headway, sometimes it might be another issue. It might not just be something that you've got to ask for help. Like, Dr. Pator just did a deep dive. I mean, like she said, she asked tons of questions, and we kind of delved into my history, and she kind of helped dig out some of the problems that were there, and then you can face them and you can move forward.
Yeah. And like you said, you changed a lot of your habits, but then the medication was like a tool, so you didn't crave the Bojangles or whatever fast food it was.
Yeah. And that's the trick is. It's not just about the GLPs. I mean, we'd already kind of changed my thinking and my habits, but the GLP you always stall when you're losing weight. And the GLP helps you kind of overcome that stall of weight loss, because that's the most demotivation factor. I've lost weight before, but once I stall, I'm like, why am I bothering doing this? I'm never going to be able to lose weight. And the GLP helps you kind of overcome and speed through that plateau.
And there's a reason why that happens. It's very important to understand too, is, he did not start with the medication. He did our obesity program, a weight loss program for a while before we even went into that. The body has something called metabolic adaptation, where after it loses a certain weight, the brain signal says, wait a minute, I've been at 250 pounds. What are we trying to do here? Why am I losing so much weight? It goes into like survival mode, grabs onto every calorie there is and tries to pack on weight. Okay? But when you do something long term, the body says, okay, I guess this is the way it's going to be. And then the brain signal, or the thermostat, it's exactly like a temperature thermostat. The thermostat says, okay, I'm okay being at a lower body weight. And so that period is different for everybody. There's no real marker for that. That's something, it's just, with our knowledge and the experience and understanding how that works. Because I've had patients come and say, I took this a while back, I took the medication, GLP, and I just gained 60 pounds back when I stopped it. It's so expensive, I can't continue. Because they didn't do it correctly, There was no understanding of how this is a tool. Did you do the other work? And so he is now able to keep more or less all that excess fat off, and we measure his body composition regularly. And because he's doing what is metabolically adaptable in his body, his muscles are moving. That's a very powerful thing. When you start movement, you use the glucose storage, and you start using that for fuel. So there's what comes in, goes out. He's not just, packing it on anymore, because
it's not holding on like survival mode.
So it's almost like the car has become more efficient, the oil change and everything. I kind of visualize it that way, that the engine has become more efficient, which everyone has the power to do. Just because we have inactivity or sedentary lifestyle, our environment keeps us obesogenic. Actively keeps us in that.
Diving everywhere.
The ultra-processed foods.
Yep.
So you're really fighting against not just your genes, but you're fighting against the whole environmental ethos that's out there. And I think understanding that and then letting the body do that long term. I had patients that, I've started on these meds 4 or 5 years ago that have still kept the weight off.
And someone kind of done like Trent, they started to wean off of it.
Someone actually not even on it, on the medication. And I give them another mindset, which is by the end of the month, think of it like you shouldn't go over a certain weight. Don't weigh yourself every day. Don't go crazy checking all of that every day. Live your life. Live it the way you're intended to live. He's pursuing hobbies, exercising, cycling. That's what you want to do, and not make this the focus. It's been the focus. I've had patients come to me crying, saying, I've done everything I possibly could have done. What is this? Why am I struggling? Why am I not losing weight? You have to have the solution. I had one patient almost I thought she was, she's so upset. But then when you kind of say, okay, this is not about you. This is the body doing its thing. Environmentally, it's doing its thing. The stressors. Stress is so powerful. When you have stress, it increases your cortisol. Cortisol grabs on to all the steroid hormones and just doesn't metabolize them. So understanding how that impacts it, he's burning his stress off through exercise. He's, getting those endorphins and natural serotonin. And, so I think that plays a big, important presence in his journey long term. So.
Well,
you got to find, you got to find things that you enjoy.
Yes.
To burn it off.
Correct.
Yeah. Anything good to relieve the stress. Not a bad habit. So
that's true. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining me today. This was so fascinating. We went into topics I didn't even know we would discuss. So I enjoyed it a lot, and hopefully it was really helpful for people out there. So thanks for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Wellness Files with Kari Beal. If you like what you heard, make sure to follow us on Spotify or Apple. You can also leave a review or comment there. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, make sure to save this playlist. This way you can see new episodes as they come out. They should be released every Wednesday. And I'm also on social media. Again, my name's Kari Beal. You can follow me there. And on Substack, I post a summary of the podcast and other health stories that I'm working on. Thanks for listening.